So we now have episode 22 of The Walking Dead Season 10. This episode is called Here's Negan. We have finally got Negan's backstory. This is going to be a full spoiler review, so if you don't want to get spoiled for you within this episode, do not watch this review, because this review is going to contain full spoilers. As well, I got my leather jacket on and got my Lucille right here. So ever since this first issue here of Here's Negan came out, I want to say 4 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, when that issue first came out, I've always thought Here's Negan will be a fantastic movie. Even when the Rick Grimes movies were announced, whenever they're going to come out, I always thought, okay, the fact that they're doing movies now really opens it up to the fact that we actually might get a Here's Negan movie one day. I still have hopes that we will get a Here's Negan movie, because this episode of the series doesn't actually tell the full backstory, because that really just tells the first couple of pages of what we get here. So there still is a lot more they can tell. So I have kind of an interest that we're either going to get a series or a movie. I think I'd prefer a movie, just because I'd love to see Negan on the big screen. But this episode, I would confidently say it is one of the best of the series. I'm going back and forth. Like, my number one is I can't remember what it's called, but Rick's final episode, and then my number two is either Here's Negan or No Way Out. I cannot decide which one I like more. I think No Way Out is great because, of course, it's all the zombies. I love the fact that they're in Alexandria, they're fighting against the zombies. You get everything happen with Carl, and then that team, that group was like, that's the Walking Dead group to me. So that's why I love No Way Out so much. But then here's Negan telling easily, I'd say he's my third favorite character in the entirety of the Walking Dead universe. Number one, of course, Mr. Rick Grimes. Number two is Morgan Jones, and then Negan's right up there at number three. So getting his backstory finally, getting to see him from a perspective that we've never seen him before, really is fantastic. It really gets people to see what I've always saw with Negan from day one. I remember when Negan was first introduced in season 7, I was laughing my head off, because of course I read the comic books. I knew where his character was going to go. I knew that he was like, he's a decent guy, of course, but everyone was just giving out hating him because he killed Glenn, which is understandable. Everyone loved Glenn, so no one liked Negan because of that. But I've always looked at Negan from the perspective of, if we just got introduced, say if we were following, top of your head, say Garrett's group, Terminus group, and then Rick came out, started season 5, and slaughtered them all. You'd be like, what the hell? They went through so much. That's exactly the opposite. We didn't see Negan's backstory. We just seen him come out and slaughter Glenn and Abraham. So we looked at it from that perspective. So if you just flip it, Rick's group was worse than the Saviors. The Saviors came in, they killed Abraham, and they weren't actually going to kill Glenn. It's what Daryl did that caused them to kill Glenn. Rick and the group went to an outpost of Negan's in the middle of the night and slaughtered 20, 30 people as they were sleeping. That's way worse than anything Negan's group has done. That's why, if you look at it now and you look at Maggie wanting to kill Negan, if you look at them putting Negan in prison for so many years, I understand why they're putting Negan in prison, but I think just Maggie's looking things, I can understand it was her husband and everything, but Maggie and the group have done things that were worse than what Negan did. Like, she was part of the slaughtering of that outpost, so I don't understand exactly why Maggie's on such a high horse. Again, I know it's her husband, but I don't agree with Maggie the way she is. She's been gone for, I think they said 7 years. And in the past year and a half, 2 years, Negan has been such an asset to them. He helped them destroy the Whisperers. He saved Judith's life. He's been there to help rebuild Alexandria. So Negan has been an asset to them. And now Maggie's come back, and his kind of whole way of living there is being thrown out the window. And Carol looks at Negan. She knows what's going to happen, so she takes Negan off to Lucy's cottage, or little whatever you want to call it, in the woods. And then Negan sitting there, he's lighting a fire, and then Savior Negan comes to him in his mind, talking to him, slagging him and everything. And then Negan wants to find Lucille, so he goes off to where No Way Out, no, All Out War came to an end. In that tree, we actually get to see Rick Grimes in here when he slices Negan's neck, and he comes across Lucille dug underneath the ground. It was, honestly, you could see the joy in his face. Lucille has been under there for 8 to 9 years. I actually don't know exactly how long it's been, but 8 to 9 years. She is like, you can see all the color has just been taken out of bat. It's such a dark bat, or a light bat now. And of course, that's when we go into the backstory of everything. And honestly, this backstory is just, it's heartbreaking, it's beautiful. Seeing the relationship between Negan and Lucille, was honestly just a fantastic backstory to see. Lucille is a phenomenal character, and like if you look at other kind of one and done characters in one episode and then that was it. If you take say Eastman from Morgan's episode, or even Dwayne from episode 1, Lucille's just a fantastic character within this episode. And easily my favourite thing about this episode was just a montage of seeing Negan and Lucille just living their day-to-day life within this house, just enjoying each other's company, whether it's playing games, reading, Negan reading a book to Lucille, or just whatever they're doing. I just loved seeing them inside this little house that they lived in, just having a good time with each other. Honestly, I loved all of that. But we know that Lucia was going through chemotherapy literally as the apocalypse started. She was diagnosed with with a cancer, so she had to go through chemotherapy. So Negan has been giving her the chemo the entirety of this time, just living their lives peacefully. They've been enjoying themselves. They know that if she gets all this chemotherapy, she's going to be grand, because they caught it at a point where all she needed was the chemo to get the cancer out, and then she would have been fine to live their life. They're enjoying themselves. You see them eating dog food at one point, because Daryl, you see her actually wearing a Half Moon t-shirt, which of course is Beta. So kind of episode 4 or episode 16, when Negan says, "Oh my god, do you know how that is?" Daryl's like, "Yeah, nobody," which is quite funny now, the fact that Negan, after all that he went through with Beta, he actually knew him, and he probably had him playing all the time in his house if Lucille has a t-shirt of him. But then they're having fun, of course. The generator causes so much noise, and Negan has to go out all the time and kill the walkers, which he doesn't like, just for the simple reason of he doesn't want to get used to it. It's not the fact that they used to be humans, or that there could still be humans inside. He just does not want to get used to killing these walkers. But he's in the middle of it. He's actually struggling to kill a walker. And then Lucille, in the middle of chemo, she's literally holding the IV bag, comes out and kills a walker, saving Negan. Not only just using their last bullet, but you're seeing her come out in that position, because I know chemotherapy makes you really, really weak, but seeing her getting up, shooting a walker, and then go back inside just shows that if Lucille was able to get the chemo out of her, get all the cancer gone, she probably would have been a badass inside the apocalypse, because just seeing that one scene just made her such a badass of a character. But then one night they're having fun. Lucille gives Negan his leather jacket, so we know that that leather jacket came from Lucille. Well, he bought it himself for €600. Lucille gave out, and then she kind of hid it because she couldn't return it. But then she gave it to him as a present. But I like that one a lot better, because in the comics, Negan just found it on the back of a chair in some random house. So he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to keep that." But having the jacket come from Lucille just makes it so much better. But they have some fun. They get drunk, I can't remember exactly, but they pass out, and the generator ran out. Oh no, they forgot to turn the generator back on, and the freezer defrosted. All the chemo bags, he had three left. The chemo bags just destroyed, and Negan has to go out and find new chemo bags. He heard of these doctors that were just traveling around, going to the exact same spot every time, dropping off these medical supplies to people who will need them. So Negan goes out looking for them. And one of these doctors, we got the main doctor, who I'd like to see again, but I can't imagine we ever would. But one of the doctors there is actually Laura, who died in season 10, who had one of the worst deaths in the series. I remember when I watched it for the first time, I was thinking, is Laura dead? Because Beta just drops her on the floor, and then that's it, and that's her death. So it was quite cool to see her. I knew we were getting a savior cameo within this episode. I was thinking it's probably not going to be Dwight, because if you look at Corona, since their quarantine, he's on Fear the Walking Dead, and that's in Texas, and then Atlanta is where Walking Dead, so they wouldn't be able to have enough time to get Dwight all the way up there. Just for, even for a small scene, he'd have to do all the quarantine and everything, so I knew it wouldn't be him. I was kind of thinking Simon Ogg as Stephen Ogg as Simon, but we got Laura. I thought Laura was a weird character to get. We see that she actually hits Negan in the back of the head with the baseball bat. That later comes Lucille, and then later on she gives him Lucille. So we know that the bat actually comes from Laura. So the bat comes from Laura, the leather jacket comes from Lucille. I thought that was a bit weird that the bat came from Laura, a character that, for the most part, I don't really remember Negan and Laura having many scenes together. I don't know why she was the one they chose to come back. There's so many other people I could have thought of. Maybe you could have had what was his name? The one who was actually working with not working with, but the one who was in charge of the kingdom. Or maybe you could have had a rot. Someone, I just thought Laura being the one there was quite a weird one to have there. But anyways, to get the medical supplies, she's making her way, or he's making his way back to Lucille. At this stage, it's been 6 weeks, and Laura kind of warns Negan before he goes, "Oh yeah, just keep an eye out. There's some gangs out there, so just watch out." But Negan gets captured by this gang. They start beating the crap out of Negan, torture him, saying, "If you don't tell us where to find these doctors, we will destroy this chemotherapy." And then Negan lets them know where to get it. Negan gets the chemo, he leaves, but as he's leaving, he hears Laura getting beaten up inside the truck, and Negan goes back to give Lucille the chemotherapy. And then one of the saddest scenes in the entirety of the series we see, he comes back and it's revealed on the door, it says, "Please don't leave me like this," in the heart on the door. And it's revealed that Lucille actually took her own life. She overdosed and then put a bag over her head and then tied herself to the bed so she could not get out and get freed. But I thought that was heartbreaking, because since it's been 6 weeks, Lucille probably thought, okay, he's abandoned me, he's just left me here. And then Negan coming back and saying that, honestly, heartbreaking. You see him, he's actually, there's a song he keeps singing, her favorite song, "You Are Beautiful," I think it was called, exactly. I can't remember the exact name of the song. But one night she's shivering in pain and Negan's cuddling her and he's singing that song, and then the song plays as she's dead there and Negan's sitting beside her. Honestly, having that song, I'm going to always think of Negan and Lucille now whenever I hear this song, because it just works so well with these two. The whole scene of her on the bed dead and Negan sitting there crying, not knowing what to do. Honestly, it was a heartbreaking scene. I'd put it up right up there when Rick found out about Carl, or just like Maggie seeing Glenn getting his head bashed in. All these tragic scenes. Actually, I think this is sadder than Glenn's death, because even though we spent so much time with Glenn, it's just seeing Negan's reaction was just heartbreaking to see Negan on the floor. But then he burns the house down, didn't even kill Lucille, he just burned the whole house down with her inside it. I don't know if we're ever going to go back, because in Negan Lives, his goal is to go back to where Lucille is and bury her, but the circumstances were different in the comic books. I don't know if it's going to play out that way. But then he gets the barbed wire from outside the house, he ties it onto Lucille, he then goes off to go save the doctors, and we see his very first Lucilleing of a kill, and he bashes someone in the head, he kills all these people here, sets the doctor free, they go off, he goes finds the daughter, and then the guy who kept telling Negan to shut up as he was interrogating him and beating him up, Negan says, "Okay, I'm going to talk, and you're going to hope I never stop talking." And this entire scene just felt so like Negan's introduction in season 6, and he beats the shit out of this guy, he kills him, and it was just fantastic to see this, our version of Negan, the season 6 finale version of Negan, finally coming to birth. And then, of course, we zoom out, we're back to where we were at the start of the episode, when Negan first has Lucille after all this time. A walker has been coming up to him and he turns around and smacks the walker, and the bat breaks in half, which makes sense. The bat's been in the muck for 9-10 years, of course it's going to break after one hit. It's not as epic of the way it destroys in the comics. In the comics, Negan bashes Beta in the back and the bat breaks in half on Beta's back. I thought that was cooler, but to see the way it breaks and then Negan goes back to the hut, he says his goodbye to Lucille, and again another tragic scene, him talking about saying that, "I'm going to live for both of us now, I'm going to do the strength that we are both going to move forward, we're both going to have a life now moving forward." He puts Lucille in the fire, he packs up his ship, and then he makes his way back to Alexandria, and Maggie gives him the biggest stink eye as he walks in. Carol comes up to her and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm staying here." And Carol's like, "Okay, I just wanted to get you out of there because I didn't want your death on my conscience." But then Negan seems like he's got his swagger, he's got his personality, he feels like the all-out war Negan again. I don't think he's going to be villainous in that way, but I don't think he's just going to sit down and take it. Like in the comics end at issue 193, I want to say, and Negan's final issue is 197 or 174, 173. In that issue, we see what pretty much happened in season 9, episode 5, Rick's last episode, when he was in the cell crying at Maggie, saying, "Just kill me, just kill me." That's pretty much what we see as Negan's last appearance, and we never see anything after that. But now we do, because we got Negan Lives. But in the actual comic series, like 1 to 193, that's all we get to see of Negan. But this version of Negan, I don't think is going to cry. I feel like if Maggie comes at him, charging at him, getting ready to kill him with a gun or whatever, this version of Negan is not going to sit there and take it. I think this version of Negan is going to fight her and give it all he has got to kill her, just so he doesn't have to die. I think this version of Negan is probably going to survive the series. I wouldn't imagine he's going to die. I think the end of the series, when they make it to the Commonwealth, he's probably going to go off on his own and bury Negan or bury Lucille, knowing that he does have this place to go back to. Negan and Maggie are going to have a big final, like big battle, but I can't see either of them dying within this battle. As a season finale, I think this is a much better finale for season 10 than episode 16 was. I think this continues the story on. I think episode 16 felt like a very, okay, this is the end of the Whisperer storyline, but I think that this kind of leaves it at, okay, the Whisperer storyline has ended, but this is what we're going to see next, and I just think it finishes off really well. I think compared to the other 5 episodes we got in these 6 mini episodes, they all look like complete crap to this episode. I think this is easily probably the second best episode. I think I would rather rewatch this over No Way Out, but that's only by a small bit, because I love this episode, but I also love No Way Out. I'm really excited to see and hope that they do continue on Negan's backstory in either a movie or a series, hopefully something moving forward. But as a whole, I'm beyond excited for season 11 to come out on Blu-ray. Or season 11 to come out on TV to begin with, August 22nd, I think is as far as I know. I'm really excited for season 10 to come out on Blu-ray. I can't wait to own this season on Blu-ray. I'm actually really excited to reread Here's Negan. It's actually been like 2 years or something since I've last read that, so I'm going to be rereading that now soon in a bit. But honestly, I was blown away by Here's Negan. I knew it was going to be good. I just had a feeling Here's Negan was going to be a fantastic episode, but I did not think it was going to be as good as it actually was. This episode was just, it was beyond amazing. I'm really, really excited to rewatch it. But let me know your thoughts on Here's Negan in the comment section down below. Did you hate it? Did you love it? You probably loved it. Let me know all that in the comment section down below. Also, click that subscribe button. Fear the Walking Dead season 6 episode 8 comes out next week, so moving forward, all 9 remaining episodes of Fear the Walking Dead I'll be talking about here on the channel. So if you want to hear my future talks on Fear the Walking Dead, click that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.